Ross Chastain triggers Rick Hendrick, and Rick Hendrick tells him what's going to happen next. Let's talk about it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's listen to this clip from Rick Hendrick.
Has Ross Chastain crossed a line?
I think you can ask any driver in here that he's wrecked or been involved with him. He doesn't have to be that aggressive. And I guess at this point in the race, maybe you're super aggressive, but you just don't run people up in the fence or, just. He's gonna make a lot of enemies. It's hard to win a championship when you got a lot of paybacks out there, and he's got so much talent. I think if he just calmed down, that there's a time in the race. Dale Earnhardt Senior told me one time. He said, I won't name the driver who drove for me, but he said, he's got all the talent. He just doesn't know how to race, and meaning he just knows when to race, when to push it. He's got a lot of talent, but he's making a lot of enemies out here. And I mean, Kyle, now this one in Dover, and it's getting Talladega. It's really getting old with these guys.
And obviously these guys are competitors, but this is another Chevrolet driver. So
I don't care if he's driving a Chevrolet if he wrecks our cars. I don't care, and I've told Chevrolet that. If you wreck us, you're going to get it back. And if you don't do it, they'll run all over you. So, I'm loyal to Chevrolet, but when somebody runs over us, then I expect my guys to hold their ground. And I'm not going to ask them to yield just because it's a Chevrolet.
All right, that was from NASCAR.com. And the first thing he said there was he doesn't need to be that aggressive. Then he said, well, maybe in that situation you need to be that aggressive. But I think his overall statement was he doesn't need to be that aggressive all the time, which I think even supporters of Ross Chastain would even say that, he does go over the line. He does push it too far too many times. He is probably a little too aggressive. I think even his supporters would agree with that. The other point he makes is it's hard to win a championship when you've got so many people angry at you and want to give you payback. I do think that is something that Ross Chastain probably has to worry about going forward. Will somebody in the playoffs that maybe isn't in the playoffs, or even another playoff driver that's not having a good run, will they pay him back in the playoffs and hurt his chances to win a championship? There is definitely that aspect to it. Now, Dale Earnhardt Sr., he had a very similar style, but he never drove in the playoffs, so it wouldn't be as easy to pay him back under that particular format. And speaking of the playoffs, I think the playoffs do actually play a factor in this too. You didn't see as many drivers driving as aggressively as Ross Chastain before the playoffs. So for all the people who want the playoffs and want to keep the playoffs, I guess you really can't complain about drivers like Ross Chastain that are driving over aggressively, because that is what that style and format brings. But let's get further into what he had to say here. That he has a lot of talent as a driver, and I think that that's another good point, but he doesn't know when to race and when to push it. I think that is also a pretty fair statement. You have to sort of pick and choose your spots, and that's been the biggest argument, I think, with Ross Chastain. He's got the talent. He just needs to start picking his spots, like when to go for it. I didn't actually have a problem with this one, and I guess that's why I defended him on the other video. He was going for the win. He was going for the win. Like, I don't know a whole lot of other things you could have done differently there. Maybe settle for second if you wanted to have a good point stay. But he doesn't have a win yet. He's not technically locked into the playoffs, even though he's the points leader. So I don't really understand the being upset about him going for the win. Now, maybe some of his other antics previous to this, I can understand, I guess, the outrage and the Ross tears for that. But on this one, I don't understand it, because he was going for the win to lock himself into the championship, which earlier I mentioned, of course, is the reason why some of these guys drive the way they drive. The bigger part that I wanted to mention is when Rick Hendrick, toward the end of this particular clip, says, I don't care that he drives a Chevy. If he drives us like that, and I'm paraphrasing, if he drives us like that, he's going to get it back. that is definitely just Rick Hendrick saying, hey, if you keep driving us like that, I'm going to put out the order for, he's basically going to put out a hit on him on the racetrack. Like, hey, you wreck us, we're going to wreck you back. So he's letting Ross Chastain know he's got a target on his back if it happens again, or maybe he's already got a target on his back here. But I definitely thought that those were very interesting comments from Rick Hendrick. Let me know down below if you agree with Rick Hendrick, if you disagree with him. I agree with his overall statement that Ross Chastain needs to pick his points, pick his spots and stuff like that. But I disagree with him about this particular incident because Kyle Larson did get into him the previous restart before this, and they were going for the win. I really don't, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are riled up about it, but I just didn't see this one as big a deal because to me, it was just two guys going for the win. So I guess this one didn't affect me the way it has affected some other people, but you guys have let me know in the comments of the other video. So I hear you. I hear where you're coming from, but to me, this one was just two guys going for a race win. But yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comments if you agree with Rick Hendrick, if you disagree with Rick Hendrick, and just another drama-esque racing deal with Ross Chastain. Speaking of which, partnered with Accelerated Graphics, they've got my online store up, and they have leaned in to the drama thing. So we now have this right here, this Melonhead t-shirt. People used to call Dale Earnhardt Ironhead. So now Melonhead for whenever your favorite driver or least favorite driver does something melon-headed. And we also have this actions hypocritical to represent somebody who likes driving a certain way but does not like being driven another way. The link for this is down in the description if you're interested in either one of those two t-shirts. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. All your subscriptions mean a lot to this channel, and I really do appreciate all of them. If you got a quote, comment, or anything like that you want to leave in the comment section, I'll try to get to as many of them I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.